I want to take a moment to talk about the Warrior Within's amazing sponsor, Diane Call. Diane Call is a singer-songwriter, and her album, which is out now, Happy Fish and Other Delights, contains songs about death, rebirth, and transformation. The album pays tribute to the smallest of warriors, a little goldfish with one fin called Happy Fish, who inspired Diane to start writing songs again. So please, please, please be sure to check out her music page on Facebook, Diane Call Music. www.facebook.com/DianeCall17. You can also subscribe to her YouTube channel and stay up to date on the latest music video releases, including the one for her first single, Cowboy Church. Hello, my name is Jaime Bennett. Welcome to another episode of The Warrior Within. Viewer discretion is advised. On this episode, I'm going to be talking about autism awareness. I'm going to be mentioning Autism Speaks, types of autism spectrum disorder, and So, a lot of you may not know, but my daughter was diagnosed as being on the spectrum when she was younger. And we noticed when she was probably about 2 or 3 years of age, she would always have to line her crayons out in a neat row, and they always had to be within the same color. All the points had to be facing the same direction, and she could not tolerate having her routine changed, not even a slight bit. And she also could not tolerate loud noises. So she was diagnosed as being on the spectrum when she was a lot younger. She just turned 12 yesterday, and I'm very, very proud and honored to be her mom. She's a remarkable young lady, and I can't say that enough. She's just an amazing human being to have gone through everything that she's been through in life and to turn out the way that she has. She's an amazing, amazing young lady, an incredible human being, so kind, so caring, very, very talented, and very, very smart. And yeah, I'm saying that because I'm her mom, but also I would say it even if I wasn't her mom because it's the truth. So I'm going to be looking at some web pages, and this one comes from webmd.com/brain/autism/autism-spectrum-disorders. And it was written by Matthew Hoffman, MD, and medically reviewed by Renee A. Ali, MD, on December 6th of 2020. So a lot of this information is going to be coming from websites because I am not a medical professional. I am not a doctor, and so therefore I don't want to give inaccurate information. And the opinions that I am sharing in this episode represent my opinions and my opinions only. It's my personal experience living with someone who is on the spectrum and having had friends in the past who's on the spectrum. Of course, I will not be giving any names for privacy reasoning, but I will give my experience with those amazing friends who have been diagnosed as being on the spectrum. There is nothing wrong with anyone who has that diagnosis. They're incredibly intelligent. They are just as capable of doing things as you or I. There's not much difference between them or us. They just have to do things in a different way, and in their way they have to view things from a different viewpoint, and they have to approach things differently, and there's nothing wrong with that whatsoever. Okay, so like I said, this comes from WebMD. So here we go. What are the types of autism spectrum disorders, you may be asking? And autism spectrum disorders include social, communication, and behavioral challenges. The problems can be mild, severe, or somewhat in between. A diagnosis is based on the level of support needed. So getting an early diagnosis means treatment can begin sooner. My daughter is what they would call high functioning autism, but they have changed the terminology to being on the spectrum. Back when my friend, who I have been friends with since 8th grade, got diagnosed as being on the spectrum, she was diagnosed with Asperger's syndrome, which is a form of high functioning autism. So, Willow is high functioning autism. So she is got, I guess you would say, a milder case of being on the spectrum, a milder case of autism spectrum disorder. But she can't stand loud noises. Like, she has gotten a lot better with that. And she doesn't like her routine to be changed, but she has gotten better with that as well. So, what conditions are considered spectrum disorders? Until within recent years, experts talked about different types of autism, such as autistic disorder, Asperger's syndrome, like I had mentioned a while ago, which is a pervasive developmental disorder, not otherwise specified, PDD-NOS, but now they are called autism spectrum disorders. I was back in college in like 2005, so my friend probably got diagnosed with Asperger's syndrome. I want to say, I think she was diagnosed with it either while I was at the university or slightly before I went to the university. So she might have been diagnosed with it in the early 2000s. That's been quite a while. And like I said, they have changed it to autism spectrum disorders. If you still hear people use some of the older terms, you'll want to know what they mean. Asperger's syndrome, the definition is a milder end of the autism spectrum. A person with Asperger's syndrome may be very intelligent and able to handle their daily life, which my friend, she is incredible. Like, she has a job, she lives out on her own, and she's awesome. Like, she's doing everything that you or I would do. Let's see what else they say about it. My computer is being kind of crazy. It says that they may be really focused on topics that interest them and discuss them nonstop, but they have a much harder time socially. She was a bit socially awkward, and like I said, I'm not going to give my friend's name because I'm not going to do that for privacy reasons. That's not right. So she's all you need to know. She's an incredible human being, and I'm very, very proud of her, and I'm very proud that I am friends with her. That's all you need to know. She handles everything perfectly well. The only thing that she had issues with was social cues sometimes, and I guess context of things. But otherwise, you would never be able to tell. Pervasive developmental disorder, not otherwise specified. This is a mouthful of a diagnosis, and it's included with most children whose autism was more severe than Asperger's syndrome, but not as severe as autistic disorder. Autistic disorder is an older term, further along than autism spectrum than Asperger's. It includes the same types of symptoms, but at a more intense level. Childhood integrative disorder. That's a mouthful. This was the rarest and most severe part of the spectrum. It describes children who develop normally, but then quickly lose many social, language, and mental skills, usually between the ages of 2 and 4. Often, these children would also develop seizure disorders. Children with Rett syndrome often have behaviors similar to autism, and experts used to group it among spectrum disorders. But now that it's known to be caused by genetic mutation, it is no longer considered in the autism spectrum disorder. My daughter has had seizures in the past. She has had a slew of medical issues, and that's why I say she's an incredible young lady, because she's been through so much in life. She's had lung surgeries. She was in the NICU from birth to almost 5 months of age. And then she had her first seizure when she was almost 5, and then had her second seizure 8 months later. So she got diagnosed with having epilepsy. Knock on wood. She has been off her seizure medication for, I think, a little over a year now, which is incredible. It has given her a new lease on life, because she was on seizure medication for 6 years of her life. She has slightly enlarged brain ventricles, and I've done some research, and a lot of times people who are on the autism spectrum do have slightly enlarged brain ventricles. It doesn't hinder their life whatsoever, but it is an indicator of being on the spectrum. Willow is capable of doing anything that any other child is capable of doing. Like I said, the only difference with Willow is she doesn't like to have her routine changed, and she marches to the beat of her own drum. She has to do things how she needs to do them. And there's nothing wrong with that. I have my routine. I have a routine. Even my boss said this the other day. She told one of the other associates that I worked with, Jaime has a routine when she comes in, and I do. I get there like 30 minutes early, and I use the restroom if I need to use the restroom. I gather up my bottles of water and whatever I'm going to drink, and yeah, I have a whole routine. There's nothing wrong with having a routine. So yeah. This comes from what I'm about to read to you all, comes from nih.nih.gov/health/topics/autism-spectrum-disorders-ASD. Autism Spectrum Disorder, which I told you about a while ago, ASD, is a neurological and developmental disorder, and it affects how people interact with others, how they communicate, how they learn, and how they behave. Although autism can be diagnosed at any age, it is described as a developmental disorder because symptoms generally appear in the first 2 years of life. Like I said, when Willow was about 2, I think she was about 2 or 3. She had to have her crayons facing the same direction. They had to be bumped right next to each other. They have to line up perfectly, and they had to be in the same color groups. And then also didn't like to have her routine changed, didn't like loud noises, was very particular about textures. She couldn't handle textures. Certain textures. She did not like slime. She didn't like Play-Doh. She didn't like any of that stuff. So yeah. As she's gotten older, and after being taken off of her seizure medication, her mood swings have gotten a lot better. She still has to have things done a certain way. She has a bedtime routine that she does every night, and I don't see anything wrong with that. It's just how she does things. That's okay. Like I said, I have my routines, and a lot of people have their routines. And if that's how she needs to do things, then that's how she needs to do things. There's nothing wrong with that. My friend who is on the spectrum had her routine. She had to do things in a certain way, and I don't see anything wrong with that whatsoever. I have quite a few friends who have been diagnosed as being on the spectrum. Incredible human beings. They're no different than you or I. They just have to do things a little bit differently, and they have routines that they need to accomplish by a certain time in the day, but there's nothing at all wrong with that. Nothing. I just am here to educate you all as best as I can on the autism spectrum disorder and autism, because it needs to be talked about. I think that it is one of those topics that don't get talked about enough, and people aren't educated enough in this sort of topic, because it's one of those topics that a lot of times people don't feel comfortable talking about it. I'm stuttering a little bit, sorry. Oh, it's been a day. I got my booster shot, and I'm tired. It's kind of a day. But yeah. So they just do things differently than you or I, and there is nothing wrong with that. Nothing whatsoever. So, according to the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, a guide created by the American Psychiatric Association that healthcare providers use to diagnose mental disorders, people with ASD, Autism Spectrum Disorder, often have difficulty communicating. Or interacting with other people, restricted interests and repetitive behaviors, symptoms that affect their ability to function in school, work, and other areas of life. I know when Willow was in public school, she was socially awkward. Like, sometimes she didn't understand social cues. Sometimes she wouldn't want to do what the rest of the class was doing at the time that they were doing it, or she had a hard time like interacting with other kids properly. Like, I know when she was younger, she had a hard time differentiating between him and her. Like, a lot of times she would call her him. She would say him, 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 him. She had a difficult time with that, and she was behind on some things, but she's also ahead on some things. Like, she's very intelligent in science and math, and like she's getting there. And there's nothing wrong with that. Sometimes people have to go at their own pace, and there's nothing wrong with that at all. Autism is known as a spectrum disorder because there is a wide variation in the type and severity of symptoms people experience. People of all genders, races, ethnicities, goodness gracious, I don't know why I can't say that word, and economic backgrounds can be diagnosed with ASD. Although ASD can be a lifelong disorder, treatments and services can improve a person's symptoms and daily functioning. The American Academy of Pediatrics, let me rephrase that, American Academy of Pediatrics recommends that all children receive screening for autism. Caregivers should talk to their child's healthcare provider about ASD screening or evaluation. My daughter got diagnosed as being on the spectrum, not at age 2 or 3, but when we moved to the state of Georgia. So that would have been right around the age of 6 or 7. So yeah, it took that long for them to diagnose her with that. And just think that if they could have diagnosed her sooner, how much easier it would have been on her in school. They could have provided her with more assistance. They could have provided her with more tools, and she wouldn't have had to struggle so much in school up to the point of diagnosis. And it makes me really, really sad that it took that long to diagnose her. Sometimes people don't listen to the parents. Sometimes doctors don't listen to the moms and don't listen to us saying, hey, I think you need to check our child for this because something doesn't seem right. I noticed my daughter's vision was off and she had a lazy eye. And I noticed that at the age of like 2. And I went and got her to the eye doctor, and luckily they diagnosed her with it. And she has corrective glasses, and her eyesight and eye has gotten a lot better since then. A lot of times, I think that doctors really need to listen to the moms because we're around our children. We know our children best. And if they would listen to the parents or listen to the moms, maybe an early diagnosis would happen more often. That's my opinion. So, social communication and interaction behaviors may include making little or in constant eye contact. My daughter did not like to make eye contact when she was younger. She's gotten a lot better about it, and she is more outspoken now. She's incredible. Like, she hosts her own shows. I mean, she's come a long way. She has come a long way. Appearing not to look or listen to people who are talking, infrequently sharing interest, emotion, or enjoyment of objects or activities, including by infrequently pointing at or showing things to others, not responding or being slow to respond to one's name or to other verbal bids for attention, having difficulties with the back and forth of conversation, often talking at length about a favorite subject without noticing that others are not interested or without giving others a chance to respond, displaying facial expressions, movements, and gestures that do not match what is being said, having an unusual tone of voice that may sound sing-song or flat and robot-like, having trouble understanding another person's point of view or being unable to predict or understand other people's actions, difficulties adjusting behaviors to social situations, difficulties sharing an imaginative play or making friends. My daughter had a hard time with imagination when she was younger. She would laugh at inappropriate times, and she had a hard time having a conversation with people. And yeah, her voice sometimes was robotic, like whenever she would answer a question. But she has come a long way, and she has gotten so much better about things. So, like I said, Willow has gotten a lot better about social cues, a lot better about laughing at appropriate times, and a lot better about having conversations. She's still not good at talking on the phone, but I'm not either. I don't like talking on the phone. That's something that some people may not know about me. I hate talking on the phone. It's no offense to anybody. It's hard for me to talk on the phone with anybody other than my mom and dad. And sometimes I have a hard time talking to them on the phone. No offense to them. I love them to pieces, but it's just really hard for me to talk on the phone, especially at links. Restrictive, repetitive behaviors may include repeating certain behaviors or having unusual behaviors, such as repeating words or phrases. A behavior called akalia. echolalia. I can't pronounce medical terms, hence why I'm not a doctor. But if you could understand what I was trying to say there, then thank you. Having a lasting, intense interest in specific topics such as numbers, details, or facts. Show an overly focused interest such as with moving objects or parts of objects. Becoming upset by slight changes in a routine, which is what I was talking about earlier. And having difficulty with transitions. Being more sensitive or less sensitive than other people to sensory inputs such as light, sound, clothing, or temperature. Willow's thing was textures and loud noises. She couldn't stand certain textures or loud noises. People on the autism spectrum also may have many strengths, including be able to learn things in detail or remember information for long periods of time. Yes, Willow is really incredibly good with that. She is very strong visual and an auditory learner, and that's what it says on there, being strong visual and auditory learners, and excelling in math, science, music, and art, which she has excelled in math, science, music, and art. So those are truthful statements. Causes and risk factors. Researchers don't know the primary cause of autism spectrum disorder, but studies do suggest that a person's genes can act together with aspects of their environment to affect development in ways that lead to autism spectrum disorder. Some factors that are associated with an increased likelihood of developing ASD include having a sibling with ASD, having older parents, having certain genetic conditions such as Down syndrome or Fragile X syndrome, having a very low birth weight. Diagnosing ASD. Healthcare providers diagnose ASD by evaluating a person's behavior and development. ASD can usually be reliably diagnosed by the age of 2. It is important to seek an evaluation as soon as possible. The earlier ASD is diagnosed, the sooner treatments and services can begin. Diagnosis in young children. Diagnosis in young children is often a 2-stage process. Stage 1, general developmental screening during well-child checkups. Every child should receive well-child checkups with a pediatrician or an early childhood health care provider. The American Academy of Pediatrics recommends that all children receive screening for developmental delays at their 9, 18, 24, or 30-month well-child visits, with spectrum autism screenings at their 18 and 24-month well-check visits. A child may receive additional screening if they are at high risk for ASD developmental problems. Children at high risk include those who have had a family member with ASD, show some behaviors that are typical of ASD, and or have older parents, have certain genetic conditions, or who have had a low birth weight. Stage 2, additional diagnosis evaluation. It is important to accurately detect and diagnose children with ASD as early as possible. That will shed some light on their unique strengths and challenges. Early detection also can help caregivers determine which services, educational programs, and behavioral therapies are most likely to be helpful for their child. Willow had therapists. They would come to the house and they would assist her with her fine motor skills. They would assist her with speech. They would assist her with walking, different things when she was younger, because she didn't start walking until she was 18 months of age. And a big factor of that, and the big reason behind that, is because she had a G button, which is a feeding tube. And it was difficult for her to want to roll around when she was supposed to be rolling and doing tummy time. She didn't like tummy time. And then, it kind of delayed her on some other things in her life. But she did eventually get there. She started walking when she was 18 months of age. And a big reason for that, I hope I don't cry here. A big reason for that is because of her therapy cat, Phoenix, who passed away in 2020 after Christmas. That's why Christmas is a bit of a difficult time of year for us. But yeah, Phoenix was around, and Phoenix gave her a good reason to want to get up and walk around because she wanted to be able to walk like her cat. Phoenix was a huge factor in helping Willow learn how to walk. That and taking her to the pool and letting her walk along the edge of the kiddie pool, that helped her a lot with learning how to walk. And she got there. She got there in her own time. She was behind on some things. She had difficulty with her fine motor skills, but for a kid that was in the NICU for 5 months of their life and bedridden for 5 months of their life from birth to 5 months of age, she has come an incredibly long way. And you would never be able to tell that she had been through any of those difficult times, that she had been through any of those surgeries, because she doesn't let you be able to tell. Like, she doesn't show signs of having been through anything that difficult. Like, she greets every day with a smile. She is so incredibly intelligent. She's a fast learner. She loves animals. She loves art. She loves human beings. Like, she is such a kind, caring young lady, and I'm looking forward to seeing what she's gonna accomplish in life. She says she wants to be a NICU doctor, and I think that is incredible, and I think that she will accomplish it, because it seems to me that anything that Willow puts her mind to, she will accomplish it. And a good I guess example, I know it's a TV show. I can't think of what the TV show is called right now, but there is a TV show where the young doctor is on the spectrum, and he is so intelligent, an incredible doctor, and he has accomplished so much in life at a young age and being on the spectrum. Just because your child or you have been diagnosed as being on the spectrum doesn't mean that you're any less of a human being. If anything, it gives you a boost. Like, you can do incredible things. Anybody can do incredible things if they put their mind to it. You can accomplish anything you put your mind and heart to. You just have to be passionate enough about it. You have to set that as a goal in your mind, and you have to work hard to accomplish that goal. You have to strive for that goal, and you can accomplish anything you put your mind to, anything that you are passionate about, anything you put your heart and soul to, you can accomplish it. I believe that with all my heart. So, normally, I run an ad at the end of my show and for special causes, but I'm just going to tell you right here, right now, before we close this episode of The Warrior Within out. The special cause this week is Autism Speaks, of course. Autism Speaks, Autism Education and Resources. You can find this at autismspeaks.org. And it will give you all the information that you need on that wonderful website. There are a lot of success stories on this website. And yeah, so the special cause this week is Autism Speaks. And like I said, I wanted to do this episode not only for my daughter, but also because people need to be educated on this. People need to be more aware of autism and Autism Spectrum Disorder. Like, they really need to be educated on it. They really need to know more about it. And it's a very important topic to talk about. It's a very important topic to educate people about. And like I said, you can go to autismspeaks.org and they will give you help and information. They'll tell you what is autism. They'll explain their work, and they have research programs. There is so much stuff on here that can help. It's a very, very important website. It's a very, very important cause. So, yeah, go to autismspeaks.org. And I hope that you all have found this episode informational and educational. And I hope that I have been able to shed some light on autism and autism spectrum disorder. Stick around because there is going to be another episode of The Warrior Within after this episode. And until next time, love, hugs, and blessings.